Ladies and gentlemen, the organizers of the Woodstock concert asked Jimi Hendrix where he wanted to play, and he responded he wanted to be last. And they said, yes, because you are the best, you will be last. And ladies and gentlemen, I present our last act of the day, bringing it home to Miami. Yes. Team Access, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo. Yeah.
Thank you for the enthusiasm. As Andy said, we are the last team to go, and for that reason, we are going to celebrate.
There's a party going on right here. It's a celebration.
I was never in sports. Sorry.
So bring your good times and your laughter too. We gon' celebrate and party with you. Come on now.
We're on the floor.
Thank you, Andy, for the lovely introduction. We are Team Access. Ryan, would you get us started?
My name is Ryan Lambert. I'm District Media Specialist at Farmington School District.
I'm Erin Bigger. I am the Digital Services Librarian at the Helen M. Plum Memorial Library.
I'm Jason Pinchar. I'm the Digital Services Manager at the Fox River Valley Libraries.
And I'm Aaron Carlin, the Randall Oaks Library Manager of the Fox River Valley Libraries.
And we also would like to give a shout out to Ellen Poppett, who is our wonderful mentor. She is from the Illinois Heartland Library System. So to get us started, you may recognize these. Our team goal is all about access to libraries and access to technology. The following slides illustrate how users across the world view internet access and how users access the internet. And we adapted our mission based on this common goal between our three libraries. And we will have a Wi-Fi party later.
Okay. As you can see here, we were the only team formed online exclusively. As you can tell by the map, I'm down here in Farmington. There's corn everywhere, but representing proudly. So that's where I am located. Aaron is up in Helen Plum and Lombard, as noted there, and then Aaron and Jason are up there in Dundee. If you were to drive the entire area, it would be 387.7 miles, or 7 hours and 12 minutes in a car. So geography is a bit of an issue with us, but we overcame that.
Thank you. So when we first met on Match.com, we realized that we had, not only the good looks going for us, but we had technology in common with one another. One of the things we all talked about was doing something with technology to help our communities. And what we realized going through this project was that we had three very diverse communities that had very diverse needs. In my community with Aaron, we serve a population of about 70,000 that ranges from very low income to very high income. Ryan is in the middle of a cornfield again, and many of the farmers there, they don't have access to technology. They're the farmers.
We are.
And then Aaron is in Lombard, where they have a big homeless population. So we took everything that we learned about one another and brought it together on a common mission to bring technology outside of the library walls. And what this meant was bringing Wi-Fi outside of the library walls and also bringing laptops and other various implements of technology outside of the library to give people who might not have access to technology access to it, but also to bring these things to spaces where people didn't actually have to come to us. We wanted to go to them and share the resources that we had available. And the big part of this was to have these Wi-Fi parties where we would bring hotspots and people could connect their devices, and we can connect devices that we bring with us. And we'll talk a little more about that later.
So let's rewind a little bit back to our very first session in March. We came to ILEAD here in Springfield with a fairly rough idea of wanting to get out in our communities and do something techie and accessy. So this is an example of our first session with Beck, and we threw out our concepts. We wanted to get out. This is an example of access in the park. We wanted to find people where they were and meet them, provide access to the things that we thought they would need and use. One of our goal there, A squared, access, we wanted to share access to information and technology in the hopes of making happy people. But realistically, we wanted to empower people. We wanted to give them the knowledge and the experience that they may not otherwise have or even know about. We wanted to get them engaged with us, with their libraries, and with other people in their communities. And we wanted to equip them. We wanted to give them the tools that they needed to go forward with their on their technology quests, and not necessarily apart from us, but come back to us when they need. So a relationship. Fast forward just a little bit to the second ILEAD session in June. We came, we saw, we kicked the. We had a poster session. And so we took this opportunity to throw this out there to the other ILEAD participants and mentors, for your input on how to flesh this out more, find out who in your community might need access, who would you put? So we got a lot of good feedback. Spanish-speaking residents, my neighbors, kids, low income, families at the racetrack. Sure, why not? Why not? All of these are really good examples. We take none of them lightly. So, and next, it quickly devolved into freeform watercolor. So, but we took those examples and we went forward with that.
Okay, so I'm going to chat about how this project impacted my school. As I said before, I am from Farmington Central School District. We are the farmers, and they were really excited about that. Imagine how excited I am. Never heard it. So in Farmington, we are a population of 35-ish hundred with small feeder towns that come into our school. My high school is about 438, I believe, at last count. So we're fairly small, but we are mighty. And I decided with this project in collaboration with my team members to do a technology night as a start-off sort of project. I teamed up with 3 senior students, and we decided to create this night centering around 3 different ideas or topics. And they would lead the information portion. They would do everything, but I would be there as support, and I would have an administrator or teacher in the other rooms as well for support purposes. So we teamed up with those 3 people. I teamed up with a student named John Ray, and we taught about social media. How to use Facebook and how to use it properly is the key here. Thank you. And so we did go into a little bit about Twitter, but we didn't really get that far. We only had about 50 minutes per session, and then we ran sessions 3 times. So then if you wanted to go to each session, you could. You would just circulate through our 3 stations. Another student, Trey Swearingen, teamed up with my assistant principal, Mr. Brad Hewlett, to talk about cell phones. Farmington is, I believe, the only school district in our little area that allows students to carry cell phones at all times. It was something very controversial and something that the news had fun with, but we still believe firmly that the educational use of a cell phone far surpasses any negativity that can go along with that. So that session was held by Trey and Mr. Hewlett to teach patrons and students how to download an app. We had some students who didn't know how to take a picture, and so on and so forth. So fairly simple sort of ideas. And then Teresa Chatton and Megan Reed, our FACS teacher, covered career development. We are in Farmington, which is near Peoria. There are some businesses that shall not be named that are having some layoff issues, I guess. So those people are going to be re-entering the workforce, and they're probably going to need some assistance. And I am happy to provide that through my school in terms of how do I create a resume? How do I apply for a job? Where do I look? It's kind of discouraging when a 40-year-old comes up to me, or a 50-year-old who's well established in their job, they lose their job, and then they need to upgrade the resume and they don't know how. So those services being offered are really a positive sort of thing. And everything we did was really Common Core. Common Core state standards are big. And that's really all I have to say about Common Core. Yeah, no comment. My mom told me to be good, so I'm going to be good. But our goal is to, my big goal was to teach students how to be successful and use technology and basically be like a little microcosm of our team Access. And then they could teach, if I could teach them, they could go teach their parents, their grandparents, their peers, younger kids in elementary, and that's just a growing sort of vision in our little town. Here I have students in my research center. You call it a library, I call it a research center. It's the same thing, kind of. Anyway, but the kids here, they're not really my kids, but I call them my kids. They're here learning about careers, resumes. They're interviewing each other. What are successful interview questions? How do you answer a question? How do you do a handshake properly? Those are some skills that these kids need to learn. And I was happy to teach them. Here I have kids also in the Research Center learning how to use cell phones for academic purposes that we have. And how to download the apps, how to cite documents properly from a cell phone. So that's what they're working on at this table. And then here I have how do you merge cell phone usage and computer usage together to do something successfully. Here we have, I believe they are working on presentations on Prezi. There's an app for Prezi, and there are apps for various other picture-taking devices that you can upload to the computer and then eventually use them in presentations. We're trying to get them away from turning around and reading from a slide. That's kind of boring, so we're trying to, take the next step with the kids. Here's my classroom. I had a student here in my psychology course who decided to take a selfie, and I had her send it to me. I'm missing part of my hand. Not really sure why, but magic. So here I'm teaching them directly about social media. Everyone in that class has a Facebook, so I primarily focused on that because not everyone had Snapchat or Twitter, but we did talk about proper usage, how to report things that are not appropriate when they're sent to you, what do you do sort of things. I told the kids that I would say this. I always teach them we're always taught to think outside the box. In my class, I teach them don't think outside the box, act as if the box was never there. And that's how we start to actually, move forward with our thinking. Eventually, with this project, I want to take the students that are leading, the seniors basically, and take them to cafes, take them to downtown. The public library was just built 2 years ago, and it's across the street. And since it's in a cornfield too, so literally. So there's a sidewalk there, and it's very nice to do so. Also our city council, I'm a city alderman as well, so the city will be getting involved hopefully in the near future with this project as well. I created a survey that's represented here, and it's looking at percentages. We like numbers. Percentages are fun. So everything on this that we did in terms of our presentation at Tech Night, we gave to everyone that attended. They filled it out. Nothing was below their standards. Everything was either at meets as anticipated or above. There's only one that's 25% as expected, about meeting the sessions with positive attitude and that sort of thing. But as you see, the numbers are mainly fairly high in all sections. And we also left a section there for comments and testimonials. Julia, one of my students, said the presentations exceeded our expectations, and she was in the Facebook social media section. So that's how it worked kind of at Farmington High School or Farmington School District. Now we're going to hear from Aaron at Helen Plum.
That Aaron.
This Aaron. There are two Aarons. double your pleasure, double your fun. So I am from Helen M. Plum Memorial Library in Lombard. Ryan has corn. Lombard is known for its lilacs. We have Lilacia Park that abuts our library. We have a very large commuter population. They go from Lombard to Chicago for work. And so the mornings are typically very, very busy at the train station. And one of our outreach efforts during the course of this program, once we had obtained most of our materials, was to go out to the local metro train station and just talk to our commuters, let them know that we're out there, that we're going to be out there going forward, we're going to make our presence known, and to tell them what kind of programming that we have. We just updated our newsletter. We have combined our youth services and our adult services in one gazette that was mailed out to every Lombard resident, and our numbers for our programs in doing this effort have skyrocketed. So they know we're there, but we want to be out in the community, give a name to a face. And so our head of circulation, Karen Keys, is on our left. She brought a laptop. She brought library cards. And my esteemed colleague, Courtney, is in between. And I am on the far right, if you can't tell. And our marketing coordinator also joined us, and he took pictures for our social media sites. And this was posted to our library's Facebook page. And my favorite comment that anyone ever had posted was, "Wow, you guys are hardcore. I love the Helen Plum Library," because we were out there and it was 40 degrees outside, if you can't tell by the hat and the scarves and the gloves. So that was one of our first efforts in getting out to the community, letting them know that we're going to be out there. During our outreach, we greeted 53 commuters at that station. Of that 53, 45 stopped to take materials, to chat with us, to say hi. And of that 53, 3 actually stopped in the middle of their morning commute to work to Chicago and signed up for library cards. And we also had one individual that was new to our community who was very enthusiastic about joining our library board advisory committee for the referendum that we're going to be pushing for next year in November. During our outreach, we really pushed programs that we already have existing and kind of getting a feel for what types of programs they might be interested in terms of us being out in the community and them not having to come to the library to learn about things. And this is one of the things that we talked about. I was promoted in February. I'm the digital services librarian, and I'm responsible for all the technology instruction that goes on there. And this is one of the things that we talked to them about, was that we have programs available that will teach them how to use the Microsoft Office suite, Facebook, Twitter. We covered Instagram and Pinterest. And we also have one existing off-site group that meets, and this is my Library Lounge book discussion group. And we meet in downtown Lombard, typically at a local establishment. We go to Brick's Wood-Fired Pizza. They love the publicity that we give them. We kind of cross-promote each other on Facebook. We also go to the Vino Cellar, and there is a Marquette restaurant that has just opened up. We're very excited because there's not a lot of places in downtown Lombard that are open at 7:30, which is when our group meets. And so I kind of picked their brain at the end of our book discussion and kind of wanted to know, since they're already participating in a library program that's off-site, what other kinds of things might they be interested in? These are some of the ideas that I asked them about. And so we had a really good response to a geocaching scavenger hunt through Lilacia Park, or the historic Lombard district. They were also really excited about the prospect of a trivia night or an app sharing event where you bring your devices, you let us know which ones are your favorite, and if you don't have them already, you can teach each other how to use them. And they were also kind of excited about the possibility of a buzzed bee, and I got that from our first session. And I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who is from the Fox Valley District Library.
Thank you again. On our next slide, would you advance it one more, please? As you can see, our district is big, as Jason mentioned. We have 70,000 people. Now, that's not Chicago Public Library big, but it's big for our community. We serve 70,000 people. It's approximately 45 square miles. It covers 5 towns. We've got East Dundee, West Dundee, Carpentersville, Sleepy Hollow, and Gilbert's, and parts of 3 others. So Elgin, Barrington, and Algonquin as well. We're stealing them from Allison over there. So one of the challenges for us is that traditionally our main library is over here in this area right here. And so historically it has been. So there's a heavy library use in this side of the district, but over on this side, my branch library is located right along here, but there's still a huge quadrant of our district that is, I would say, underserved. And we're still striving to let people know that, yes, you belong to us. We're your library. Come here, sign up for your library card. Come here for our program, your program. So with most of the stuff happening on the east side of the river in East Dundee, you know, the people who live in Gilbert's are having to traverse quite a ways to get over there to do programming. We have stepped up programming at the Randall Oaks Library where I work that's more central to the district, but we're just a 5,000 square foot facility, and we can't meet that entire demand, but we have plans for the future for that. So the residents on the west side are just a little bit less represented right now, and we're trying to find ways. So this program, this project, Access, is a great way for us to reach out to not only the residents of Gilbert's, but other corners of the map of our district too with this project. And one relationship that already existed, the Friends of Our Library happen to have a relationship with a Culver's restaurant that's also located really close to my library. And thanks to that relationship that the Friends already had, I was able to go in and talk to the manager of the Culver's and ask, could we, Jason and I, could we please come in, set up our computer equipment and offer, you know, instruction to be available to answer questions, to just have our stuff out there for people to come and experiment and play with. And she sounded genuinely interested in that. And she let us know that they happen to have a senior bingo there on the third Wednesday of every month from 1:30 to 3:30. So we gathered all our gear, we trucked it out there, and we set it up. And during the course of the afternoon while we were out there, I was really enthusiastic about making weird animal faces and grasping noises to this lady. But honestly, she was very enthusiastic. She wasn't there for bingo, but she felt compelled to come up and talk to us about how she loves ebooks. And she is homebound, not exactly homebound, but she has mobility issues. And so she is not able to get to the library as much as she would like. So her children had bought her an e-reader. They taught her how to use it, and then she's been using the library religiously to download ebooks. And she told us series after series after series of things that she was reading. So we didn't have to do any reader's advisory there. It was she had it. She could tell us. Mm-hmm. So it was a really great conversation with her. When I asked her, you know, after ebooks, because it sounds like she has a lock on that, I asked her what other technology challenges, you know, what are you curious about? What else would you like to know about? And that's kind of where she shied a little bit and withdrew. She had mentioned children, and I asked her, I said, well, would you like to learn about FaceTiming? Would you consider FaceTiming with your grandchildren? And she said, well, I don't really have grandchildren. I have children. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just meant, you know. Would you like to learn about communicating with your family with FaceTime? And she said, well, I don't know about the FaceTime. I have the Facebook. So I said, well, they're separate. Facebook is also a great way to keep in contact with your family, you know, and that's something that we offer at the library. Can set up one-on-one times, you know. So it didn't have to end there with just the ebooks for her, and we wanted to explain that or stress that to her. So the main reason we went there was for senior bingo. If you want to the next one, this was pretty well attended. This picture only shows half the room, but it went all the way over, and there were between 30 to 40 seniors there playing bingo. And so it was exciting for us to actually be out there with our gear and ready to do this. I would say the one problem is that they're there for the bingo. You don't mess with senior bingo. But we had opportunities in between rounds when the caller, the gentleman in the blue in the middle there, was resetting the cards and everything. So we had some opportunities to then go out and try to talk to them and pull them into our area, but they were still a little resistant. I asked questions. I asked for a show of hands. Can anybody here please tell me, do you have a library card? And really nobody raised their hands, or very few if they did. I didn't see them. So then I asked, well, where do you live in Carpentersville, where this culvert is located? Because if so, you're in our district. You can come in. You can get a library card. Crickets were chirping at this point. They didn't want to reveal that information to me. So I asked, are you in Gilbert's? Because Gilbert's is also in our library district, and even more crickets. But so I tried to change tack, and I said, okay, well, that's enough. It was time for them to go back to their next round. But then when it was over, and the next round was when they were on break or whatever, I went back out, and I thought that was mine. That's not mine. And so at this next round, I went back and I asked them, how interested are you in technology? If you wanted to know about these things, would you come to the library? Would you, are you interested? Can we help you in any way, shape, or form with this? And so this is a demographic that we want to serve. It's very underrepresented. We don't have a lot of seniors in our district for some reason. I don't know if it's that they retire and move away. We don't have a lot of assisted living facilities or even senior centers that they can retire to. So we want to try to reach out. We want to find this population and reach out to them, and hopefully they're willing. Some of the comments that I got was that, I never had any of that growing up. I don't need it now. I don't want it. Another concern, and this is a legitimate concern, that she was concerned about identity theft and having her financial information stolen. And I said, well, if you come to the library, we can help you with this in a safe environment. We can teach you what you need to know. But even then, it was just, this wasn't the right time for that. But we planted a seed that day. And some people did actually come. We had a table right here that did have a lot of library paraphernalia on it, newsletters, program information, stuff about our access team. And so some people did come up and take it. I'll let Jason say the part about the phone. So we had some promising things there, but don't mess with senior bingo.
Yeah. So as Aaron said, it was kind of hard to reach that population. I did have a lady come up to me. We had all of our equipment that we had purchased sitting on the table, ready to show people how to do things, and she asked what we were selling. And I said, well, nothing. But I did have a lady come up, and she was interested in getting a smartphone, and it gave us the opportunity to tell her that when you get that smartphone, give me a call, and we'll help you learn how to use it. And I think that made her feel just a little bit more comfortable about getting that. In any case, our project was not all that seamless. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to start with what didn't work. So if we're going to go to the next one. What didn't work? The irony of all of this was that throughout everything that we did not have any hotspots on our person. We wanted to get hotspots. We are still getting hotspots, but we had some pretty big hiccups in getting those hotspots. After our last session, we came in contact with somebody from K-12 Mobility to try to form a partnership to get hotspots through them. We had some initial conversations, which were pretty promising, and then a month went by, and we had no response from them. So we went on to the next venture, which was working with Verizon to get hotspots through them to try to form a little bit of partnership there. And it was promising again, and the lady told us she was going to set us up with an engineer and talk about how we would get these devices ready to go. 2 weeks went by, nothing from them, follow-up emails, nothing there. Eventually, we had to look at a different source, which cost a little bit more money, and we're still actually waiting for those hotspots. Our original plan that we had budgeted for was to get some hotspots that were relatively cheap through a TechSoup program, but we learned that those weren't going to service Farmington. And we wanted to get something that was going to be easy to pay and not have to deal with multiple bills, so we would look for a different avenue there. So those hotspots, we are told, are coming and will be shipping this week, but I have my fingers crossed there. So that was really the biggest hiccup of this project, because our project was pretty much centered around bringing wireless internet access out into the community. But we did find ways to do it. The Culvers had Wi-Fi, even though it really didn't work very well. Aaron, you guys had a hotspot already, I think, that you brought. Ryan did it in the school, which I imagine you had internet access to those computers. So we found ways around that to deal with what we had. Another thing that didn't work so much in our favor was our geographic locations. We didn't have the ability to meet face-to-face as much as we would have liked to, which led to a little bit of miscommunication sometimes. Eventually, something that worked to our benefit was we set up conference calls every week at 9 o'clock when we knew we were all available to meet, to talk about what we were going to do with our project and be more prepared when we actually got to Springfield. Some other things that didn't work, we'll still stick on that one, were we tried to partner with Goodwill on this as well. So Aaron had reached out to Goodwill, which was also in Carpentersville, to see if they let us set up a table and reach the people that came into those stores. But we were told from them that we had to call corporate, and after a couple weeks of trying to get a hold of corporate, we finally got a response that basically said, we are aligned with your mission, but if we let you in, then we have to let all solicitors into our buildings. So that kind of failed for us as well. So we're looking on our next and new adventure into our community to find where we might go with our project at this point. But back to the things that worked. The conference calls, again, worked. It was something that solved our geographic issue. Ryan's surveys that he created for our project also worked in giving us very useful data that we can use and where we can take our project from here. And then the flexibility of our project and our concept. Our concept was to get technology, to bring it out into the community, give them access, teach them things. This doesn't necessarily mean that that's all you need, or everything we have is what you need. You can take an iPad if you have it and go out in the community and show somebody something on an iPad. You can just go out into the community and show people what you have to offer at the library. And I think that's the biggest thing that we took away from this, was planting that seed in our communities that we are here, but we are also here where you are for you, in your community, so you don't have to travel all the way to us. So where are we going to go from here?
In terms of the Helen Plum Library, my hopes in proceeding with this project would be to plan these events. We're also working with our PADS representative in Lombard, who has approached our library director, and we are trying to pinpoint individuals within that homeless community that we can reach out to and provide instruction and technology and assistance in those regards. Gentlemen?
We still have, the hotspots are coming, so when we get them, we still have every opportunity to go out in the communities. In the very beginning, one of the things that appealed to me so much that kind of was like a light bulb in my head was my family would occasionally do travel. We would go traveling or do road trips, and I have kids. And I thought, oh, it would be wonderful if we had internet connection during some of these long travels to keep the boys occupied. And then so that led me to think about, well, why doesn't a library lend these? Maybe my library can. And then talking to Jason, we thought this is perfect for our project. So I see that when we get these hotspots, this can be kind of a test to see how it will go with maybe lending them out at our library and continuing this project in that regard, but also trying to go out in the community, once we have them. So I still foresee a lot of opportunity for engaging the people outside of the library walls and reaching out to them.
And with that, we would like to ask if anyone has any questions for us. Yes, sir.
Regarding the hotspots, I'm going to assume that you're going to have ongoing monthly charges forever. How is the sustainability being funded?
So at our library, at least, we did budget for hotspots for this fiscal year. So it was something that we were planning to do anyways, and decided to incorporate into the ILEAD project. So that is something that our library is willing to take on regardless of the outcome.
As is our library. We don't have any issue in renewing our subscription for that hotspot.
Ditto.
Does anyone else have any questions for us? Yes.
Not a question, but when you were talking about Goodwill not working out, just a thing to throw out, and I have no idea, this is just like totally random, but Dollar General those stores, they're corporate, they have like literacy grants and library assistance grants. They just might be a company that's library friendly.
Thank you.
That wants, so, and I know that there's one in Carpentersville, I'm not sure, but just something to think about.
Absolutely,
Maybe if you're
yeah.
open to that.
That is a great suggestion.
Area.
Just if you do have Dollar General in the community, pretty much every year, our teen department applies for and wins money that we pay a high schooler to come be a summer reading club assistant. And they're super generous with those grants.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Who else? Who else wants some access?
Alrighty, and with that, we would like to thank the State Library, fellow ILEADers, mentors, community reps, the instructor corps for fostering our ideas, helping us grow and explore new horizons in all of our unique projects. And welcome to our party. Please join us on the stage for a huge group selfie.